Hi everyone, I am Hope Dante or Jasmine Dante, and today I'm going to be explaining what the component of comprehension means, especially in literary settings, and specifically some of the activities today would be towards the second grade level. Okay, so overall, comprehension is the main goal of reading. This brings out the main ideas for students to really understand why things happen in a story and the different elements behind it. And it's how they take meaning away from the text, connecting to what they already know and things that they might have questions about. That's how we want to help them through all the other parts and components of reading so that they can get to a good place of comprehending the stories or paragraphs or sentences. It goes beyond word recognition though. They have to be able to be asked questions and be able to respond to them. They can't just recognize the words when they're reading and then you think, oh, since they're fluent in vocabulary, they're fluent in comprehension. It's a skill that is added on once they understand all the other skills. They can develop understanding of main ideas. They can predict even in what's going to happen in the next page or the next chapter. And they can make inferences and connect ideas. Overall, supporting this would be fluency, like I said, phonics, and also just vocabulary, all the components together, and then comprehension focuses on understanding once the students can read the words. Strong comprehension overall contributes to reading growth and achievement because comprehension ties together all the strands of the reading rope. It's at the top, especially the language comprehension side. So in the simple view of reading, comprehension is decoding plus language comprehension. So they have to be able to decode the words and understand as they go through the story. And then they have to also have language comprehension of how people talk and just being able to understand what the words even mean, and then they can comprehend it. Even strong decoders need comprehension to truly read with meaning. And then Scarborough's reading rope shows how background knowledge, vocabulary, and language structures all work together to make a fluent, meaningful reading. As students strengthen comprehension, they grow across all the areas of literacy and become lifelong learners and thinkers. So without further ado, let's get into some comprehension strategies that could be used. Like I said, I kind of picked ones that would be towards second grade as that's what I'm thinking I might want to read with, but all of these could work probably around that age range. The first one is using stop and sketch. So this focuses on sentence and paragraph comprehension, but you could use it in a short story as well. The purpose is it helps students slow down and picture what they're reading and kind of giving them a chance to think about it before you show them the page. So the first step would just be read a short part of a story aloud and then have students stop and have paper for them, and they would draw a quick sketch of what they think is happening, and then you would share the sketches, all talk about it, and then as a teacher you would show the page and see if they really comprehended either that passage or the few sentences on that page, and see if it matches with what the author was meaning and what the main purpose was of those pages. So that's a great way, and I'll show that to you coming up. And then you can have accommodations for ESOL students by modeling with just one sentence or having simple visuals. And then for struggling readers, we can use shorter sentences also and read slowly. Number 2, tea party. We read about this in this is a great example. I've been loving it. It's how we can build comprehension and predicting text details. So the tea party strategy helps students practice understanding key story elements. So what you would do is you divide students into groups of 4 or 5. This would be during the time where they're learning about characters, setting, events in the story. So when you give them the cards and the set of cards, that's what they'll have. They'll have information from a specific text about the characters in it, what's going on, the setting, and maybe some actions that are going on. This would really work with like a fairy tale story. And then the students take turns talking about it, and then as a group, they have to create their own story, and based on the information only that they got on the cards. Then at the end, they'll share their stories to the class, and then you would tell them, oh, this was the 3 little pigs, or good job, you were so close, this was super close to A Christmas Story, whatever it is, like Rudolph. And then you would be able to see if they really understood from just those few parts of a story, could they piece together what fairy tale it was. For ESOL students, you could use picture cards and help them kind of start the process in the beginning better, and also give simple sentences for understanding. You could also give them vocab cards just to model it all out to them, like with pictures, so that they know any confusing words with the setting characters. Number 3 is story mapping. This helps them remember and organize main parts in the story again, kind of with the setting, problem, and solution. So you read a short story aloud, and then you would show a story map on the board which separates each column, and then give each student a worksheet that matches what's on the board. Then you would read the story, and you can pause throughout and ask them to kind of help guide them, especially ESOL students, but you want to be able by the end to fill out the whole story board and just be able to put in who, where, what happened, and then how it ended, so the solution. And you could then have the students follow and do it with another story if you wanted, like a short story, just to see if they could practice. Maybe you do it several times, and then at the end of the week have them try it. And then for like gifted students, you could also add on and like have them come up and like share the story and explain it, but based on their board and how well they did, they'd be able to. And then for ESOL students, you can add pictures and be with them, alongside them for each part of the story, obviously, as you're reading through. And then number 4, making a connections web. So this helps students to relate something, you know, that they're reading basically to themselves, other stories they know, or just in the world around them, in their environment. So after you read a book, you draw circles labeled self, text, or story, other stories, and then world. And then you ask questions such as, what does this remind you in your life for the self portion? And then, have you read another book like this for the text section? And then, what have you seen that relates to this? So if you did Christmas, maybe they'd end up drawing like what their Christmas looks like or what holiday they celebrate. And then from there, it would just keep adding on. And then have students share their ideas and draw them in inside each circle. For ESOL students, you can give them like, this reminds me of, like, go ahead and frame the sentence for them so they have starters. And I feel like you could have a good example on the board of how it related to yourself as a teacher as well. So without further ado, I am going to show the first example, which was the stop and sketch. So if you had a little story, which this story is called The Camping Trip, it's just for the fall, I love the fall, you could just read even just 2 paragraphs. So let's start with that. So Lily and her brother Ryan went camping with their mom and dad. Ryan and dad set up the tent while Lily and mom collected sticks to start a bonfire. Ooh, okay, everybody, you would basically say, as we're reading this, let's lean in and let's listen and be really putting on our thinking caps of how this would look. And then you could ask questions like, has anybody ever been on a camping trip? Different things like that to start off too. So that's a preface. Okay, now, once the tent was set up, they started a fire in the bonfire pit. Lily and Ryan looked for long, pointy sticks to use for cooking hot dogs over the fire while the fire was heating up. They found 4 perfect sticks, 1 for each of them. And so basically, I would just read that, and then I'd say, okay, and make sure you point out like the major imagery words and description words so that like sticks in their head. And then I'd say, okay, now everybody, let's close our eyes, think for 30 seconds. What do we think this would look like for Lily and Ryan and their parents? Then give them a piece of paper and say, here you go, now let's draw this out. And I want to give you 1 minute, maybe 2, to draw your best picture of what you think is happening. Then we let them draw it. Then, okay, let's see it. Let everyone show a few examples, and then you'd say, okay, if it looks anything like this, and then you could show the little picture of a campfire and the forest and see who's kind of matched. And then if anybody's was really far off, like especially with Esau, you could go ahead and like show just them specifically a little drawing, like even on the board, you could like, as you're going, kind of like draw with them just so they kind of have an idea. Or we could like jot out, I think there would be fire logs. I think there would be fire. Just so like, even if you wrote those things, then everybody as a reminder would kind of know how to kickstart their drawing. But that would really show if they comprehended the passage or the sentence. And overall, I hope that these examples and these strategies would help you as a teacher going forward to teach comprehension. Thank you so much.